As you can see, I'm setting up and using a different computer together. I mean, the same computer. I am using, there we go. Let's try that. Today I'm using my professional microphone and getting my professional microphone and an external headphone, this is my professional side. I don't generally use it, but a couple of people have mentioned that they haven't been able to hear too clearly what it is that I've been saying in my recording. I have a tendency to have a soft voice thing, except for when I get out of it. Enough. I might go over the top. So here we are. And happy birthday to everybody who has a birthday doing June 30th and July 6th. And there's a number of you. I'm going to focus in on one birthday today, and that's the 249th birthday of the United States of America. But we'll get to that. For now, let's uh, let's tune into Cancer. This is the zone that the sun is still traveling. And since we're going to be looking at a birthday from 240 years ago, I think it's relevant, or maybe more overtly relevant, that we consider our ancestors. This is definitely a finger on the pulse kind of an energy that one has to keep in mind during the conversations about Cancer. Cardinal water sign of the zodiac. Home. Home is one of those areas that, yeah, since we are going to be talking about the birthday of the United States of America, and I'm using that term united, tongue in cheek, States of America, because currently there are energies afoot that politically appear to be discomforting to a substantial portion of the people here in the United States. I don't generally like to dive into the political side of the equation, but when there's a cadre of folks that appear to be trying to dismantle a lot of the constitutional presentation that we, the people, are under the auspices of trying to live into. I think that a lot of people forget that, the Constitution, when it was set up, was set as a step in a direction, not as a hard, fast rule. And what's taking place these days in the interpretation field is a lot of the steps forward in the interpretation of this document are being, what shall I say, loosely translated to inure to the benefit of some, but not all of us. Oh, I didn't see a cloud this morning when I was out in the garden. Anyway, let's take a look at this. So this is today. Actually, this is tomorrow. Today is the 20th. There are birthdays today as well. The the factors in play this week have to do with down here, since I'm looking at the birthday celebration for the United States of America. Today, if I were to consider this, yeah, we're in Cancer. Sun and Jupiter still dancing relatively close together. But the sun is moving forward. It's heading onward in its journey. And Jupiter doesn't move as fast. I'm going to look at Venus over here in Taurus. It's in its own sign. It's the only planet that is in a sign of, and it's moving up to hold hands, hold dance with Uranus, which it will be, yeah, on of all days, July the 5th, our birthday. So Taurus is a sign of value. What, wherein does value lie? And Venus, ruler, wants to make sure that while it's doing Taurus dance, we're paying attention to a resource base that isn't just sitting in our bank, but the actual natural space of planet Earth that we live in. And since we're going to be looking at the celebration or birthday of the United States of America with the Sigma chart, it will behoove us to be tuned into, you know, to that. Add a chart. That's the simple chart. We'll put the simple chart in the middle so we can actually see it things going around it. As you can see, the sun is moving up on itself. So we can do the chart. We're going to from the chart ahead of you, feed the flow. You can kind of see here the sun is at 12 degrees, 53 minutes, so almost 13 degrees. The sun, when the Declaration of Independence, the sun was at 13 degrees 19. So very close. During this day, the full, the sun will once again pass over this thing. But let's look and see, well, you know, what is of value? Where's the resource base that the United States is by? Second house, our house of money, house of resources, our house of really connecting in with Mother Earth is a Capricorn house. So it's Capricorn, that means it's ruled by Saturn. Saturn is up here in the 10th house. So you could say that when we, the people, got together to declare our independence, you know, the factors of value were residing in this 10th house with the legislature, with the governments, with a definite functionality in a new type of government. And what type of government? Well, it's Libra, you know, we the people. Libra is about the process of how we integrate with one another. And so because of that, you know, we're automatically going to say, well, what about the ruler of Libra? What is it's Venus? And where is Venus? Venus, here it is, over here in the 7th house in Cancer. This is a Cancer nation. We have the obligation, perhaps that is a good way to see it, to make sure that we're paying attention to the other. The other is very, very significant in what it is that we, the people, bring to the table. There are other dances that are going on here as well. Oh, okay. Just for a little extra games for today. So Friday. Jupiter, we're having a Jupiter return in the 7th house on the 4th. Mhm. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. It also rules Pisces. And so Jupiter ruling the ascendant. And a Jupiter return on this particular birthday in the house of how it is that we get along with one another in the sign of Cancer. So, because it's in the sign of Cancer, generally, the United States was born with Moon in Aquarius. What is the most effective way for group energy to continue to third house learn? You know, should have taught in those days. To learn from one another and to, you know, in a way be experimental. This is third house. And it's Aquarius. Aquarius means that is saying this this process of what it is that we, the people, are about is to compare notes with one another. You know, that is probably one of the most dynamic capacities we have to enhance our learning. On this particular day, Friday, the 4th of July, 2025, our moon, this is a Cancer birthday, is up to just going into Scorpio. Um, there's a every solar return chart basically sets in motion for the next year a signature that says that it would be a good idea to focus on what that solar return chart is bringing to focus. This solar return chart for the United States of America. Oh, the solar return chart is going to be essentially the chart for today, because you kind of see this, the suns are they're fairly close together. So this is if we look at this chart, the one in the middle. Let's just look at that chart. I need a solar return chart. I I did a solar return chart for this Sibley chart, and I'm not having an easy time being able to rely. Uh, There we go. Happy birthday, United States of America. This is the solar return chart for Friday for the birth of our nation. We have again, and that Aquarian planet, which is where the moon was in the natal chart for the United States of America. So the ascendant, which is our vitality, the sun, our vitality, and also our expression out into the world. Aquarius, can you, do you sense that we are presenting or portraying out to the world any aspects of this Aquarian humanitarian aspect, this essence of humanitarianism to the rest of the world, and for that matter, to each other. This is what we're being invited in this particular year to really bring into focus. And as Aquarian, well, have Pluto very close to that ascendant, but it's still on the 12th house side. Pluto, total transformation, transubstantiation, transmutation, and a picture, if you will, a churning, burning fire sitting underneath a cauldron. And within the cauldron, let's throw the United States of America. And it's boiling rather vigorously. And that's kind of the energy of this Pluto sitting on the ascendant of this solar return chart for the United States. Can you feel that? Can you feel that overt percolating energy that is saying change, change, change in no uncertain terms to bring up all the hidden things that have been, kept from us in an attempt to correct, if you will, a direction that this country can go in. This is some pretty dynamic energy to pay attention to. Are the values. Every solar return chart can be looked at as a standalone chart. So we're looking at a standalone chart for the rebirth of the United States on this particular 4th of July celebration day. We have Saturn, the traditional ruler of Aquarius, and Uranus, the modern ruler of Aquarius, sitting here in their different houses. Well, this second house, we've already mentioned what the second house stands for. It's our resource base. And our resource base is basically flavored by Pisces. And Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. And Neptune and Saturn, they're kind of hanging together here in Aries, a driven sign, very, impulsive. They're in that second house. The idea of trying to facilitate appropriate use of our resource base, Mother Earth. I'm not basically bringing in initially the experience of the coinage, the money side of the equation, because Mother Earth provides everything that we really need. And so this Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and by the way, Neptune just went retrograde. It goes retrograde on, actually, I think it just goes retrograde on this very same day, the 4th of July. So it's going to be going back toward that side. They're hanging very close together. Neptune is at its base level. A number of things I could bring up is our understanding of appropriate use of our creative imagination, because Neptune exists, and this is a Piscean house. It exists in a realm where, the percolation of what can come through if we open up our consciousness into, believe it or not, into mind. And most people, or a lot of people, think of mind as being this brain sitting between the two halves of our skull. And the reality is that the mind, or consciousness, is actually an energy field that is all around us all the time. Have you ever wondered why sometimes you have these synchronicities where things just show up at what could be considered an appropriate time that you couldn't have planned if you wanted to. That's tuning into the mind, which is an energy field all around us all the time. It doesn't just exist in the brain. The brain, might be the vehicle to assist us in tuning into that process. But where does it really come from? Do you really know? Have you really thought about it? Something actually quite magic when we sit back and relax and allow consciousness a seat at the table without trying to, using the brain, manipulate what is transpiring in any fashion to, pigeonhole what it is that we know we want to do. We know we want to accomplish. And consciousness floating the sea that you're floating is saying, oh, no, 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 not. We have a different trajectory for you. Are you paying attention? Do you hear that? Do you feel that energy? What else is going on in this chart? Oh, yeah. Uranus, our modern Aquarius. Over here has what's at 29 degrees, 53 minutes of Taurus. So it's just about to join Venus, which just went into Gemini on oh, on the 4th of July. Venus was is conjunct. Oh, this is a solar return to irony of violence. On in this solar return chart, which basically is what's going on that pole. Venus and Uranus have been playing together. And Venus has just gone over Uranus. So if you think of Venus as how do we get along with each other? What's our level of ability to have a conversation with somebody else? And is it an inspiration to some level of relationship? Well, Venus dancing with Uranus it can excite that kind of circumstance, situation. So, just be on your toes that uh, anything that has to do with how the interaction is going to transpire between you and anybody else, it's going to have this Uranian flavor, which is, modern ruler of that Aquarian ascendant on this thing. And we have to think of what's the larger picture for the United States of America, because that's what this is a solar return chart for. Is there going to be, and we're talking fourth house, is there going to be some level of awareness of the home environment that is, could be a little bit amped up energy? And Venus, is there a value structure and what we understand that home to be? Are we really tuned into, if you will, the energy of sharing? That's how relationship works. Sharing with one another. And in a Uranian way, perhaps just a little bit more exciting than normal. We have things to do. And because of that, I think the next thing to look at would be our seventh house. How is it that we are interacting with the other? Mercury has basically on this solar return chart for our country has just entered the seventh house. And this is going to be, this sets, a solar return chart sets up a flavor for the year. So anything that I'm saying basically is going to be in play all year long. So Mercury just entering the seventh house says, it might behoove us to pay particular attention to how is it that my communication with others is going. Mercury's in Leo. You know, there's always with Leo on the table, there can be potentially an overreaching kind of energy, because Leo, ruled by the sun, is all about making an overt expression to see what kind of feedback it's going to have. And so this Mercury and Leo just going into that seventh house, it's highly likely, if we're really listening, that others are going to be saying things to us that they want to get our attention. Are we listening? That is the question. Are we listening to what it is that the global community is seeing that we as the United States of America are doing right? There are questions as to, why is it that we are trying to, in some fashion, isolate ourselves from the global community? Not the wisest decision in any moment. And since we're also in the season of Cancer, we need to say, what does the moon do? Well, the moon up here is in square aspect, the waning square aspect to the ascendant, which means that crisis in consciousness up here in the ninth house. Well, the ninth house is the arena that has to do with a larger potential vision that beckons our attention to really be a lot more that we might be inclined toward. It's in Scorpio. There are, possibly factors of the mysterious, the secretive that are, afoot, often behind the scenes, that this particular moon in the solar return chart is asking us to be willing to, don't accept everything at face value. Feel the undercurrent of what really is afoot, because Scorpio has an extremely intense capacity to interact, intermingle our energies with others at levels that often discomfort arises. And the reason why is because, well, how it transpired when there is discomfort is because it is highly likely that what is being spun as a version of what it is that someone is, trying to portray as themselves is not exactly true. And Scorpio will energy, the moon will feel right through that veneer and say, hey, you say this, but when I see your action, I'm sensing there's something else going on that you're really trying to, keep from me. And so we got this moon up there in the ninth house, in square to our ascendant, that outward expression of who we are. It's saying, can you sense that crisis in consciousness? Something is being, brought to point. We, the people, are being asked on this particular solar return to the United States of America to make sure that our voices are heard. That is the purpose of the Declaration of Independence. It's not that there is a certain factor of the type of energy that needs to be rammed down our throats for our own betterment. Oh, yeah, of course. Maybe along the lines of open communication one with another to, from a United House perspective, see what else is there that we need to aim at that right now is, you know, because of that Pluto on in Aquarius on the ascendant, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge that is asking us to wake up, see what's going on, so that real transformation can take place. And the direction that we, the people, and as a country, can step more effectively, if you will, into the global community of humanity. Did you hear that? Global community of humanity. We, the people, particularly here in the United States, come from all walks of life. That's always been part of the underlying factors in that Declaration of Independence that welcome anybody and everybody to participate with us. And in that, preferably harmonious connection, we learn aspects of the human family as we interact with them that are extremely to the enhancement of what it means to be a human. More importantly, to actually be a soul incarnate and to learn the lesson, the soul lesson that we all signed up for by interacting with one another, comparing notes, and being willing to change so that the dance of life can be much more integrated within and around and through the energy that we share with one another. Look at Aquarian ascending on this particular solar journey that's asking us to don't cut yourself short. Don't try and isolate yourself from the rest of our human body. That's enough for that chart. Let's try and figure out how to get back to okay, back to our chart, please. And you know, Venus on this day, 4th of July, enters Gemini. So Venus, our values, entering into the sign of Gemini, our curiosity. You have to ask yourself, am I curious enough to ask the right questions? Where are the appropriate resources as far as how is it, Venus, that my interaction with you, whoever you happens to be, are going to inspire, that process of harmonious mental growth that conscious, not just the brain, but mind consciousness came here to grow into. That's Venus going into Gemini. And on this day, you can kind of see the Uranus, Venus co-dance holding hands right there from the 9 degree of Taurus. There's an experience, a process with those two uh, energies right there. The very last degree of Taurus. Let's see what goes through the salient symbols for that to offer to us. A peacock parading on the terrace of an old castle. This first time look. So as I read that, I got this image of a, potentially overly inflated leader strutting around on the parapets of his, claimed home front, exuding, this colorful version of what it is that he is trying to portray. The keynote for this particular favorite symbol says, the personal display of inherited gifts. Here in the United States, that peacock personage inherited a lot of gifts to, economically put him in the position that he is in right now. And it goes on to say a lot of things, but tries to portray them from the perspective of a realistically conscious individual that is doing things to the best of their ability to enhance the experience of not just themselves, but everyone. I'm not sensing that those in charge here in the United States right now are doing anything even remotely the focus of energy from on high seems to be trying to paint a picture that is in the process of separating everything from everything else. True Newtonian Cartesian physics, which, actually managed to create and divorce us from the physical world and from God, and is not the reality. The reality is that everything, and I do mean everything, is in connection with everything else. To try to live in a realm where everything is trying to be separated from everything else can be extremely troubling to conscious, to the mind of God. I do not put you here to fight with anything and everything and one another and destroy and destroy and destroy the things around you in order for what? To, enhance the economic value of those people investing in this destructive side of humanity? I don't think so. We came to engage with one another, to teach each other aspects of the living experience from our perspective so that we can grow together in harmony. There's that 7-degree Aquarius ascendant that is asking, are you paying attention? Is there a perspective in that ascendant or the solar return chart that is inviting to be a lot more than participant. Mm, yeah. I'm going to stop this dance and yeah, okay. As we get as Friday becomes Saturday, our second planet to go retrograde is going to be Neptune down here at 2 degrees of Aries. So it's Saturn and Neptune, they're just going to be hanging together for a season. And it's just something that we're going to have to learn to live with. Are we going to, allow our creative imagination to uh, be meaningful, sadly, and have purpose, sadly? Or is the Neptunian imagination going to, spin us off on a tangent that uh, hard to support in a way that doesn't distract us? These are two up. They're both in Aries, so the Mars factors definitely in play. And Mars over there in Virgo, so it's like, get your shit organized. What Mars does when it's in Virgo. That's what Mars does. And yeah, that's what it does when it's in Virgo. All right, is there a meaningful uh, bottom line to what it is that Saturn Neptune dance is going to be? Have to ask yourself, is there a meaningful line? Okay, we're going to say goodbye for this week. Pleasant journeys. Happy birthday to everyone that has birthday this week. Remember, we the people need to speak up in a celebration of this birthday here in this country. And it's more than just that, personal. I'm talking about a potential harmony for the body of humanity globally that is on the table. Ciao for now.